Welcome to SimplyRN. Today we will go over acid and base disorders, what causes acid-base imbalance, and what will happen if your patient goes into acidosis or alkalosis. Okay, let's begin. What are acids and bases? An acid is a substance that releases a hydrogen ion when it reacts with water, and a base is a substance that binds to the hydrogen ions and makes them less acidic. An example of a base is bicarbonate. So remember, hydrogen ions are acidic and bicarbonates are basic or alkalotic. Hydrogen ions and bicarbonates are normally maintained in a balance. However, if more hydrogen ions are being produced, or if the body is losing bicarbonate, acidosis occurs because now there are more hydrogen ions and less bicarbonate. On the other hand, if the body is losing the acidic hydrogen ions, or if it is gaining more bicarbonate, alkalosis occurs because there are now more bicarbonate and less hydrogen ions. Making sense so far? Okay, let's talk about how hydrogen ions and bicarbonates are regulated in the body. The respiratory system maintains the acid-base balance by regulating the carbon dioxide level in the blood. Remember, we talked about an acid is a substance that releases a hydrogen ion when it reacts with water. And guess what is carbon dioxide? It is an acid. When CO2 reacts with water, it produces carbonic acid that breaks down into hydrogen ions. So when a patient is having trouble blowing off the CO2 in the lungs, hydrogen ions accumulate and the body becomes acidotic, and that is called respiratory acidosis. What would make a patient unable to blow off CO2? In order to breathe out CO2, you need to have effective ventilation. If the patient is too tired or too somnolent, maybe they are taking too much opioids, too much benzodiazepines that depress the CNS and the respiratory drive, that they end up breathing at a very slow rate to the point that they are unable to blow off the CO2 in the lungs. Or they could have obstruction of the outflow of CO2 due to conditions like COPD, asthma, bronchospasm, or upper airway obstruction. On the flip side, if a patient is tachypneic, which means they are breathing at a super fast rate, they end up blowing off too much CO2 from the lungs, and there will be less CO2 to react with the carbonic acid to produce hydrogen ions, so the hydrogen ion level drops, and the patient becomes more alkalotic because there are now more bicarbonate than hydrogen ions in the blood, and that is called respiratory alkalosis. So what makes a patient tachypneic? Severe pain, anxiety, fever, sepsis, pulmonary edema, pulmonary embolism, etc. All these conditions can cause tachypnea and lead to respiratory alkalosis. It is interesting to know that patients can only be tachypneic for so long before their intercostal and diaphragm muscles tire out and give up. Then they will end up with bradypnea to a point that they cannot effectively blow off the CO2. And what would that lead to? That's right, respiratory acidosis. So basically, respiratory acidosis and alkalosis are a problem of too much, or not enough, CO2 in the blood. Beside respiratory disorders, patients can also become acidotic or alkalotic from altered metabolism. For example, metabolic acidosis is a result of either gaining too much hydrogen ions or losing too much bicarbonate. You can gain too much hydrogen ions from toxins such as methanol poisoning and aspirin overdose. You can also have too much hydrogen ions from metabolic disorders such as diabetic ketoacidosis, lactic acidosis, and uremic acidosis. With diabetic ketoacidosis, the body does not have enough insulin to use glucose for energy. As a result, the body breaks down fat for fuel, producing ketones as a byproduct. So what is lactic acidosis? Lactic acidosis happens due to lack of oxygen to the cells, such as in sepsis. Without oxygen, cells go into anaerobic metabolism and form lactate as a byproduct. In uremic acidosis, the kidneys are not able to excrete waste products from cell metabolism such as uric acid due to chronic or acute kidney injury. Ketones, lactate, and uric acid are all acidic molecules that will release hydrogen ions and turn the body into metabolic acidosis. Just remember, all these conditions have the word acid in them, So they will make the blood more acidic, and they are all metabolic disorders. So those are your metabolic acidosis. You can also go into metabolic acidosis by losing too much bicarbonate, such as from diarrhea, and end up with less bicarbonate to neutralize the hydrogen ions. However, gaining excess hydrogen ions is a more common cause for metabolic acidosis. For metabolic alkalosis, the body is either losing hydrogen ions or gaining bicarbonate. For example, conditions such as excessive vomiting or too much NG tube suctioning can lead to a drop in hydrogen ions because the body is losing hydrochloric acid in the stomach. And guess what is being produced when hydrochloric acid reacts with water? Hydrogen ions. So if the patient is losing hydrochloric acid, less hydrogen ions are being produced, and the body goes into metabolic alkalosis. You can also go into metabolic alkalosis by gaining too much bicarbonate. For example, patients with kidney injuries may be treated with sodium bicarb drips, and they may end up getting too much bicarb and go into metabolic alkalosis. Now we know what causes acid and base disorders. Are there ways our body can try to reverse that? Of course there are. The two organs that are involved in the compensatory response are the respiratory and renal system. For respiratory disorders, whether it be respiratory acidosis or alkalosis, the kidneys will try to compensate by reabsorbing or excreting excess hydrogen ions and bicarbonate. For example, if a patient retains CO2 and goes into respiratory acidosis, the kidneys will try to compensate by excreting more hydrogen ions and retaining bicarbonate to make the blood less acidic. Vice versa, if the patient is blowing off too much CO2 and goes into respiratory alkalosis, the kidneys will excrete bicarbonate and retain hydrogen ions. The renal or metabolic compensation is a slow process. It takes 3 to 5 days to complete the compensation. A complete compensation means the pH has been normalized and that the patient is not in acidosis or alkalosis anymore. Okay, so what about metabolic acidosis and alkalosis? How will the body compensate for that? For metabolic acidosis, the lungs will try to hyperventilate to breathe off more CO2, which will decrease hydrogen ion production and therefore less acidic. For metabolic alkalosis, the opposite is true. The lungs will try to hypoventilate to retain more CO2 in the lungs and increase the hydrogen ions. Unlike the slow renal compensation, respiratory compensation begins within 30 minutes and is complete within 12 to 24 hours. So remember, for respiratory disorders, kidneys will compensate by either excreting or retaining hydrogen ions and bicarbonate, and it is a slow response. For metabolic disorders, the lungs will compensate by either hyperventilate or hyperventilate, and it is a fast response. Wow, that was a lot. But we are not stopping here because we still don't know why we should be concerned when a patient becomes acidotic or alkalotic. Is something horrible going to happen? Well, yes, you should be concerned because acid-base disorders cause a lot of problems such as electrolyte derangement, cardiac issues, and problems with neurotransmission. For example, when the body is acidic with too much hydrogen ions in the blood, it reduces the contractility of the heart and causes vasodilation. Patients can become hypotensive and even go into shocks. Hydrogen ions can also agitate atrial and ventricular cells and cause arrhythmias such as V-tach and V-fib. It can also cause hyperkalemia, because when there is too much hydrogen ion in the blood, they get pushed into the cells, and potassium gets pushed out of the cells and cause hyperkalemia. Too much hydrogen ions can also block neurotransmission and result in lethargy, altered mental status, and coma. What about alkalosis? Alkalosis can agitate the atrial ventricular cells and lead to supraventricular tachycardia, or SVT. Alkalosis can also cause electrolyte imbalance. When there is not enough hydrogen ions in the blood, nothing gets shunted into the cells, and therefore nothing is pushing potassium and magnesium out of the cells. As a result, hypokalemia and hypomagnesemia occur. Alkalosis can also affect neurotransmission. Remember, too much hydrogen ions can block neurotransmission, but if there are not enough hydrogen ions to block some of the neurotransmission, It can cause neurons to fire uncontrollably and lead to tetany, seizure, and altered mental status. So you see, the body needs to be in a balance. It cannot have too much or too little of anything. I hope you enjoyed this video. In the next video, I will go over what is an arterial blood gas and how to interpret it. Thank you for watching, and always remember, this video is for educational purposes only and not indicated for clinical use.